Now, moving on to how things are controlled in the world. This is a little video clip, Fox News interviewing former CIA Director James Woolsey. I'm afraid I don't have a date for this interview, but it stands alone as it is. Let's have a listen.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably, but it was for the good of the system in order to avoid the communists from taking over. For example, in Europe, in 47, 48, 49, the Greeks and the Italians, we
don't do that now, though? We don't mess around other people's elections, Jim?
Only for a very good cause.
Can you do that? Do a Vine video on this former CIA director.
Only for a very good cause in the interests of democracy.
All right, thanks for being here. It's always great to see you.
Well, that is a demonstration of the intelligence or not and moral code of people. That
I noticed she didn't ask, do we interfere in our own elections?
Well, of course, Mike, but the point made. Just pop this one up on screen. Networks of Empire. This was recommended by Alex Thompson back in February 2016, looking at the US State Department's foreign leader program in the Netherlands, France and Britain. And of course, those leaders helped skew national politics to be aligned with whatever the demands are of safety and security and economic development of the Americans. Now, back at home, we've been talking about the government's attempts to control media by global conferences on media freedom. This is back to 2019. We've been looking at a lady called Amal Clooney. We're not suggesting in any way she's done anything wrong. We're just interested in what's been happening. Foreign Secretary at the time, Jeremy Hunt, he explained why we must stand with those who seek to report the truth and bring the facts to light. Isn't that an amazing statement by that man, Mike? Well, if we go on and have a little look, I put the postscript in because, of course, the only truth that Mr. Hunt's interested in is the truth that's already been deemed to be the truth by the British government, or what overseas friends claim to be. So here's the lady herself. Just take you in a bit more detail of what she said in her address to the group. In discussions with the Foreign Secretary, he made it clear that he wanted to establish a powerful new initiative that could create meaningful and lasting change, an initiative that could continue to operate regardless of which individual or political party was in power. That, to me, rather suggests that the power of this organisation is going to be above nation states, which I find very concerning, but maybe she didn't mean that. He explained that the initiative would include the establishment of an independent and international panel of lawyers. There's a big assumption that those lawyers are squeaky clean enough to be advising the rest of us as to how we should control media, but they're going to better protect the press, and a media freedom fund will be set up to help journalists access legal advice and training, all independent, hopefully. In these discussions with the UK and Canadian governments, I set out my vision for the legal panel based on the issues that I think are priorities for reform. Well, I beg Miss Clooney's, I don't quite know how to put this, but I'd like to know more about her and what her views and values are before I'm happy to accept what she's going to put forward for this panel. But of course, she's the one who's been selected. What is she talking about? The institution and consistent use of sanctions regimes to impose serious financial consequences on state officials who abuse media freedom. Those sanctions, of course, will not be applied to people in government in the UK or within Western powers, I suggest. She's talking about enhanced consular duties when a journalist is detained abroad, a system of visas for persecuted journalists seeking asylum. And if we just finish this little section off, an international investigative team, including lawyers and forensic experts, that could be deployed when a journalist is attacked. No mention of whether that's going to be independent or how that will be guaranteed. The promulgation of model legislation to guide states on the free speech guarantees that must be respected under international law. So UK is going to tell other people around the world how they are going to protect free speech. And then if we look at a little bit more detail in what was actually said, I'll just take you to the bottom because we're a little bit short of time. Lawyers who are at the forefront of advocacy to promote media freedom around the world, including in Russia, India, Pakistan, Uganda, South Africa, and the Middle East. So we can see that this is not independent and unbiased. This is absolutely to put a Western view of media freedom into countries that presently don't adhere to our rules and regulations. So there we are. Although 173 states have ratified a United Nations treaty, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights that guarantees freedom of speech, many countries still have laws that allow the muzzling of journalists. Well, if that sounds familiar to people, it must be because she's describing the UK in 2023. So I'm just appalled at the hypocrisy here. But take you back to a UK column report on December 2013. And here we've got a diagram showing the power of big institutions, Schuman, Ford, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Soros, and MacArthur. And of course, MacArthur, Ben has just described the power of that in manipulating media around the world. I wonder whether the Clooney Foundation will be investigating the power of these organisations, and I rather suggest not. So just to rub some salt into the wound, really, for the government, this was a UK column report 2016, when Lord Richards, General and former Chief of the Defence Staff, put out an email stating that he'd just had to tell Number 10 to take my name off a letter they're drafting from a number of retired, very senior officers supporting the Remain cause. This is before we've even seen the deal. And of course, what he's highlighting is the British government manipulating people's reputations in order for them to promote a political agenda. That isn't free speech. This is the UK column, February 2016, and we're showing part of a document which was the EU running propaganda campaigns in the country at the time of the Common Market. It says here the programme for such speakers should concentrate on constituencies represented by MPs who were doubtful about entry, and a campaign of letter writing to MPs by constituents must also be promoted. The significance of this is the British government and the European Union were paying for this so-called grassroots response. So this is propaganda and manipulation of free speech. We've got Cameron here, Ministry of Defence paying £120,000 a day to boost its public image while cutting mod defence spending on defending the nation. So this is UK propaganda. And it brings me back to Mindspace, which Ben has already covered. But let's put some meat on the bones, because Mindspace was just one component of a web of government officials that were working to change society to a new model. And that model of big society was based on the works of Saul Alinsky. So there you have more detail. UK column has shown a lot. And I'll just say Francis Maud in the middle, also the man that locked UK into working with Israeli 8200 intelligence unit. And I think I'll just pop this one up as well. So, of course, the use of applied psychology was to be made a business. So a link through, because, of course, Francis Maud heavily involved with bringing the power of Israeli intelligence into the British government, security services, intelligence services, and interacting with the lives of ordinary citizens in the UK. That's a good opportunity, I think, to pass back to Vanessa.
No, it's to me.
Oh, it's to you. I beg your
first of
pardon.
all,